Something feels off. The dynamic isn't what it used to be. Conversations that once felt effortless now seem dull. The excitement in her responses has faded, and you can tell she's not as present as she once was. You sense the difference, not just in her words, but in her energy. She still replies, but it's slower. She still makes plans, but they feel half-hearted. You catch yourself wondering if you're imagining it, but deep down, you already know her interest is slipping away. And here's where most men go wrong. They react out of fear. The fear of losing her, the fear of being replaced, the fear that if they don't act quickly, she'll slip through their fingers. So what do? They try harder. They send longer messages, initiate more conversations, and ask what's wrong. They try to reignite what they once had by forcing attraction to come back. But instead of fixing the problem, this only makes it worse. Attraction isn't something you convince someone to feel. It's something that naturally grows when the right dynamics are in place. When a woman senses that you're reacting out of desperation, that you're trying to fix things rather than naturally creating desire, it only reinforces the very thing that made her interest drop in the first place. So why does this happen? Most men assume women lose interest because of external reasons. Maybe she's busy, maybe she's seeing someone else, or maybe she's just not in the mood. But the reality is, interest fades when she stops feeling emotionally engaged. Women are drawn to men who create a sense of excitement, unpredictability, and emotional movement, not through games or manipulation, but through a natural energy that keeps her engaged. If that's missing, if things feel too easy, too predictable, or too available, her attraction starts to dwindle. It's not that she chooses to lose interest, it's that she no longer feels the same level of excitement that she once did. And that's why trying harder never works. Because the more effort you put into forcing something that should feel natural, the more she feels like she has complete control over the situation. And when a woman feels like she has all the power, she stops valuing what she has. Think about it. What excites people the most? It's the feeling of earning something valuable. The moment she stops feeling like she has to earn your attention, your presence, and your time, she starts taking it for granted. This is where most men panic. They think they need to do something before they lose her. But the truth is, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to chase her harder. It's to create space. Not as a strategy, not as a game, but because your energy should be naturally moving toward things that make you better, not toward chasing someone who isn't fully valuing you. The moment you redirect your focus away from trying to fix her fading interest and instead toward becoming a man who naturally commands respect, something shifts. She starts noticing the absence of your attention. She starts questioning why you're not reacting the way most men would. And that uncertainty, that's what reignites attraction. Not because you're ignoring her, not because you're playing mind games, but because you're no longer making her the center of your world. You're stepping back into your own frame, the place where you were before she started pulling away, the version of you she was initially drawn to, the one who had purpose, who had things going on, who wasn't waiting around for someone to validate his worth. When she feels that shift in your energy, she doesn't just see you differently, she feels you differently. And once she feels that, she can't ignore it. That's the power of absence. When she feels the shift, she might not notice it immediately. At first, she assumes nothing has changed. She expects you to keep reaching out, keep showing up, keep doing the things you always did. But then the silence grows. She goes to check her phone and realizes something. You haven't messaged her. You haven't sent that good morning text she was so used to. You're not reacting to her social media stories like before. You're no longer around her, giving her attention. That's when the first spark of uncertainty appears. She won't admit it, not even to herself at first. Her ego tells her that this is temporary, that you're just busy, that you'll come back eventually. So she waits. But the longer she waits without seeing your name pop up, the more uncomfortable she starts to feel. Women don't fear losing attention that was given to them for free. They fear losing attention that once made them feel special. And right now, she's realizing that what she thought was guaranteed isn't. She scrolls through your messages, looking at the conversations you used to have, remembering the way you made her feel. And something inside her starts questioning, did he lose interest in me? Why hasn't he reached out? Attraction is rooted in emotion, not logic. She doesn't need a reason to miss you. She needs to feel your absence in a way that disrupts her sense of control, and that's exactly what's happening now. She starts testing the waters. It might be something small, a random like on one of your posts, a vague text that doesn't say much, a sudden comment on something she knows you'll notice. She's not doing this because she's ready to chase yet. She's doing it to see if she still has you in her grip. This is the moment that decides everything, because if you react immediately, if you jump at the first sign of attention, if you rush back in at the slightest breadcrumb, you confirm what she suspected all along, that you were never really gone, that you were just waiting for her to reel you back in, that she still has full control over your emotions. And the second she feels that, her interest disappears again. But if you don't react the way she expects, if you continue focusing on yourself, moving forward, radiating the energy of a man who is fully content with or without her, the dynamic shifts in a way she can't ignore. Now she's the one feeling the uncertainty. Now she's the one wondering where she stands. Now she's starting to feel something she hasn't felt in a long time: desire. Not for a man who chases, not for a man who begs for her attention, but for a man who she feels she could actually lose. And that's when she stops testing and starts chasing. When she feels like she's losing you for real, she won't admit it, not even to herself. She'll act like nothing is wrong, like your silence doesn't bother her, like she hasn't noticed the shift in your energy. But the reality is, she feels it, and it's starting to get to her. Before, she assumed you were just trying to get her attention. She thought you'd eventually give in and come back just like every other guy before you. But something about this time feels different. You're not playing a game. You're not ignoring her to manipulate her emotions. You've simply moved on, or at least that's how it looks. And this is what unsettles her the most. See, women don't react to losing attention immediately. Their emotions don't work that way. At first, they convince themselves they don't care. They keep themselves distracted, surround themselves with friends, scroll endlessly through social media to occupy their minds. But eventually, distraction stops working, because the moment she slows down, the moment she's alone with her thoughts, you come rushing back into her mind. Not because she wants to think about you, but because she can't stop. It's human nature. The more we try to suppress something, the stronger it fights to surface. And the more she tells herself that losing you doesn't matter, the deeper the realization sets in. She might have lost something she wasn't ready to lose. And that's when she starts feeling something she hasn't felt in a long time: insecurity. She's so used to having options, to knowing exactly where she stands with the men in her life. She's used to being the one in control, the one who decides when and how attention is given. But you've changed the game. And now she's caught between two emotions, her pride and her fear. Her pride tells her to stay silent, to hold her ground, to make you reach out first. But her fear, that's something much more powerful. Her fear tells her that maybe, just maybe, you're not coming back this time. And that's when the anxiety kicks in. Now she's no longer just wondering about you. She's overthinking every little detail. Why did he stop chasing? Is he talking to someone else? Did I misread the situation? What if he actually moved on? And that final question, that's the one that haunts her the most. because for the first time, she's considering a possibility she never entertained before. The idea that she lost you, not because she rejected you, but because you outgrew her. And that realization, that's when she starts fighting emotions she swore she'd never feel for you again. She thought she had you figured out. She thought she could predict exactly how you'd react. But now she's the one left guessing, and the moment a woman starts feeling that, the power dynamic flips, because now she's no longer certain. Now she's questioning herself. Now she's starting to crave something she once took for granted, your presence. And that craving, that's when she starts reaching out in ways she never thought she would. The moment she feels the distance is real, she told herself it didn't matter. She convinced herself she could move on without a second thought. But something feels different now. She expected you to react the way most men do, to chase, to seek closure, to ask what went wrong. But the longer you remain silent, the more that silence starts speaking louder than words. It's no longer just a simple break in communication. It's something she feels, and that feeling, it's starting to get under her skin. She scrolls through her phone absent-mindedly, half expecting to see your name pop up, but it doesn't. She finds herself pausing before posting something, wondering, will he see this? Will he care? The certainty she once had about your attention isn't there anymore, and that uncertainty is something she's not used to. This is when curiosity turns into discomfort. It's not just that you're gone, it's that she no longer knows what you're thinking. Before, she could predict you. She knew if she pulled back, you'd step forward. She knew if she gave a little less, you'd compensate by giving more. But now, you're an unknown variable, and that realization does something powerful. It forces her to start questioning herself. Why does it feel weird that he's not around? Why do I suddenly care what he's doing? Did I actually underestimate what he meant to me? The shift is happening, and she can feel it. She might try to suppress it, pretending she doesn't care. She might distract herself, go out more, or surround herself with people who validate her, but nothing fully replaces the presence that used to be there and now isn't. This is the emotional turning point. She's no longer thinking about you as just another guy. She's realizing you weren't like the rest. And the more that realization sinks in, the harder it becomes for her to ignore the space you left behind, the weight of losing what she didn't value. She walked away without hesitation. At the time, it seemed like the easiest decision in the world. After all, she never had to fight for your attention. It was always there. You made things effortless for her, so she never truly had to earn you. That's why letting go felt simple in her mind. She had options. She had control. She believed that if she ever changed her mind, she could come back, and you would still be there, waiting, hoping, ready to pick up where things left off. But something's changed. It's not immediate. It doesn't hit her all at once. It creeps in slowly, in moments she never expected. The first time it happens, she barely notices. She's going through her day, laughing, living life as if nothing happened. And then she feels it, a sudden pause, a realization, a small nagging thought she didn't see coming. You haven't reached out. It's been days, maybe weeks, and she hasn't heard from you. That wouldn't be a problem if she were the one who chose to step back, right? But now, for the first time, she's feeling something unexpected. Doubt. Not about the breakup, not about what was said between you, but about you. Because this isn't what she expected. She assumed you would have tried harder. She assumed you would have sent at least one more message, tried to check in, reacted to her posts, anything to show that you were still emotionally invested. But there's nothing. No texts. No late-night "I miss you" messages. No comments under her pictures. And that's where her reality starts to shift. She checks her phone again, scrolling through past conversations. She rereads old messages, maybe even opens your chat. but she doesn't type anything. She tells herself she's just reminiscing, that she's simply curious. But deep down, she knows this is the first sign she's losing control. She pushes the thought away. She gets up, gets dressed, goes out with friends. Maybe she even entertains another guy just to prove to herself that she's still got options. But for some reason, it's not the same. The attention doesn't hit the way it used to. The compliments feel empty. The laughs aren't genuine because something is missing. And no matter how much she tries to pretend it doesn't matter, no matter how much she tells herself she's fine, the truth is beginning to take shape in her mind. She underestimated you. You weren't like the other guys. You weren't the kind of man who waits around begging for validation, hoping for crumbs of attention. You were different. And she realizes that a man like you doesn't come around often. That's when she starts looking for excuses to reach out. It won't be obvious at first. Her ego won't let her be direct, not yet. Instead, she'll try to ease her way back in subtly, testing, probing, trying to figure out where she stands. A casual message, a reaction to something you posted, a vague excuse to talk to you. But there's something deeper behind it. She wants to know if she still has you. She needs to know if you're still emotionally tied to her. Because the thought of you truly moving on is something she never prepared for. She wanted space, she wanted control, she wanted to see if she could do better. But now, as she sits alone with her thoughts, replaying memories, wondering if you even think about her anymore, she realizes she never actually considered what it would feel like to lose you for real. And that's when the real fear sets in. If this video gave you the clarity you needed, hit the next one on your screen. The moment you stop chasing, everything changes. Don't miss what's next.